Okay, today is Saturday, September 25th, 2010, and this is a video to document a recent trade-up. My friend traded an '01 Chevy Malibu, kind of like that one way over there, only his was a 2001, for 3 cars. This is a Ford Probe, the first of 3 that he traded for. It's a 97, I believe, Ford Probe. V6 standard transmission. The second car that he traded for, and once again this is 3 cars that he got for one, this is a 99 Dodge Avenger 4-cylinder standard transmission, and this one at the time that he got it had a blown head gasket and water in the cylinders, and the engine was seized up, wouldn't crank, wouldn't move, wouldn't do nothing. The third vehicle isn't here, it's at my place. Is a 95 Hyundai Alantra 4-cylinder standard transmission that did run. Now, at the time that these vehicles were acquired, this one runs and drives, but it has a problem with the acceleration. You rev it up and it spits and sputters and carries on and barely runs, which we'll probably show in another video. This one, of course, had the seized up engine, didn't run at all. And then the Hyundai did run, but when it got warm, the engine rattled, from what I understand, pretty bad. And my friend over there, the car home, he got from West Salem Springs, Arkansas to Watts, Oklahoma, about 6 or 8 miles before it seized up tight. And we'll get the Hyundai Elantra on another video shortly. But let's show you what's going on with the Dodge Avenger with some engine work going on here. Okay, so here's what we got going on here. This engine, minus that cylinder head, is the original engine block to that car. The one that had the seized up engine. The cylinder head that's on it is off of this block. This block and lower end assembly is out of a 96 Dodge Neon, my car, which is a whole different story. But they're the same engines basically, with a few differences in the rotating assembly. So what we got here is we unseized this engine block using some Miracle Oil stuff, which is around here, this stuff right here. We unseized the engine using this Marvel Mystery Oil. This stuff works awesome. So he got the engine rotating again, but it's got some issues. So instead of trying to rebuild this engine, essentially what we're going to do is this. They're going to use my block, which is this one right here. They're going to pull my pistons, which is the difference. This piston looks to be a flat top piston. The pistons in that block are concave for the valves. So they're going to be pulling the pistons out of that block, pulling the pistons and rods out of this block, and pulling the switcheroo using my block, my rotating assembly, but their pistons, and of course their head, because that head is a single overhead cam for a 2.0, and the Avenger requires a twin overhead cam 2.0. So it looks to me as though the only difference in that 2.0 and this 2.0 is the heads and the pistons. Everything else appears to be the same. Heads, pistons, that's about it. On a note, when this engine was pulled out of the car, the 96 Neon, which is what was in it when I bought it, they thought it had a knock, and they didn't want to mess with it anymore. It turns out, let's see if the camera can see this, right there on this piston, and bringing up the number 4 piston, right here and right here, there is like something's been in these cylinders tapping around and making all that noise. So it turns out that after a while, whatever was in here went out. I ended up buying an engine from a salvage yard and having it installed for nothing. Of course, it's a good thing I did anyway, because with those pistons in that condition, they wouldn't have lasted more than a year. But here's the there's the damage to my cylinder head. So that's what we're doing, a switcheroo job here. These are the pistons. Well, where are the pistons?
Over there.
Oh, okay. There's the pistons that are of the Dodge Avenger. You can see the marks in the piston heads for the valves. That's the only difference that we can see between the Avenger 2.0 and the Neon 2.0. So that's what we're going to be doing. Switcheroo. Putting his pistons and rods on my rotating assembly in my block and using their dual overhead cam engine. Actually, they're not even going to use their own head because the cylinder head was too screwed up. I'll show you that right now. Okay, so here's the dual overhead cam cylinder head off of the Dodge Avenger engine, and the problem that they're having, again, let's see if the camera will pick this up, all that rust on these lobes. There's a lot of rust, and they took it to a machine shop and said that the cams can't be salvaged. Not only that, the valves ain't seating properly, so it would have to job done on it. So basically we're going to have to find another remanufactured head to make this engine work again after it's all done with the Frankenstein thing. My block, my rotating assembly, their pistons and rods, another cylinder head, change the oil pickup tube. Now we're going to see the Ford probe. Okay, this is the 97 Ford probe V6 standard transmission, and we're going to start it up and show you that it will run, but what it does. Okay, so it's running. Come over here. Hi, Mary Jane. So now we're going to show you what it does. It seems to idle good. Accelerate slowly, and it seems to run alright. And it seems to run okay slowly. But if you really try to accelerate it, this is what it does. Let it idle, accelerate slowly, and it accelerates just fine. But if you try to really accelerate it, it'll just sit here and do this. Let go, and it'll smooth out and run fine. Slowly. I have no idea we've already replaced the throttle position sensor. It didn't change anything, or he did. I'm sure by now it's probably got the check engine light on. Let's see. Low fuel light's on. Well, usually by now it's got a check engine light on. But that's one of the three vehicles he's got. 97 probe, V6, standard trans. It'll run at idle all day long, and it'll accelerate as long as you ease into it. But if you really try to rev it up, it carries on and coughs and sputters and farts and lags, and so that's what we got. 97 probe, runs but needs work. We don't know what's wrong with it. 99 Dodge Avenger, in the process of being prepared to go through a heart transplant, and using my motor. And then of course a 95 Hyundai Alantra 4-cylinder with a standard trans, and that's a whole different story when I get back home. I don't know. When I get back home, this Sunday I'll make a video on the Alantra if it ain't raining. So if anybody out there has any ideas as to what's going on here, like I said, I already replaced the throttle position sensor. Attempted to replace on this air duct here. It's got a leak. Looks like he's siliconed it. And eventually it throws a code. So that's where we stand. 3 cars, 2 non-runners, and a jumper and hopper and popper and farter under heavy load. We'll see.